Hi, this is Habiba. Thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time, please don't forget to subscribe. It's very easy to do so. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you get notifications anytime I make a new video. Okay, so a question I get asked a lot by a lot of people is, Habiba, what is the most affordable province in Canada? Or, which province has things that are really, really cheap? Those emails come in a lot. Okay, so today we're going to be discussing about this province. And no, it's not the province of Nova Scotia, but this particular province, even people in other provinces are moving to this province. So there must be something about this province that my friend calls the Promised Land province. Okay, so let's get started. So, the province everybody is moving to. I talked about Nova Scotia the last time and how quite a number of people are moving out of the province because things have become expensive. That's the truth. I mean, there's inflation everywhere in Canada, everywhere in the world, let's call it what it is. So a couple of weeks ago, I was at the grocery store and I bumped into a lady that I had known. We had known each other back in Nigeria. In fact, we're on this, PR WhatsApp groups for people coming to Nova Scotia in 2019. And we hadn't seen each other in a very long time. So we just bumped in, we're saying hi, hello. And she mentioned, she told me she was moving to Alberta. And I said, okay, good luck in Alberta. Godspeed in Alberta. And the truth is, one of the good things about living in Canada is that whether you come as a skilled worker or as a student, you can move to whatever province or territory, you like, as long as there's no restriction on your passport. So I didn't think much of this lady that I had known, this lady I met in the grocery store. I didn't think much of it, that she was moving to Alberta. I mean, it happens. Fast forward a few weeks later, I'm at a get-together at the gathering, and I hear some ladies also talking about, moving to Alberta, moving out of Nova Scotia to Alberta. And so at this point in time, curiosity gets the best of me. And I'm like, what is happening in Alberta that everybody's moving to? And so I started doing a lot of research to find out why everybody was moving to Alberta. And I'm going to tell you guys that for the first time since we moved to Nova Scotia in 2019, so almost 5 years, for the first time, I actually considered, for a brief moment, I considered moving to Alberta while I was doing my research. The number one reason why a lot of people are moving there and why, someone will argue and tell you it's now the most affordable province. The number one reason I found out is that in 2023, the province of Alberta had a very, very successful campaign. And that campaign was called Alberta is Calling. Now, this campaign was targeted at other provinces in Canada. So not for newcomers coming in from abroad, but for people here in Canada. And I was going through the campaign, very effective. One of the main things that stood out for me was the campaign highlighted, affordable housing in Alberta. Now, in Canada, you pay your rent monthly or your mortgage monthly, unlike Nigeria where you pay for the whole year. And one expense that takes a huge chunk of your money, 40, 50, 60, sometimes even 70% of your income, is your rent or your mortgage. Now, the cost of housing has gone up in every province, even in our lovely province, Nova Scotia. But the cost of housing in Alberta is still reasonable. So now when I hear people are moving to Alberta, I don't even blame them, because that is a valid reason to move. I was speaking with a friend of mine and she was complaining and saying Nova Scotia is no longer the same. She said, this is not the Nova Scotia we moved to in 2019. And I was like, why? She's like, in 2019, 2020, they came in 2020. When we came, you could get a decent 2-bedroom apartment in a good location for between $800 to $1,200 Canadian dollars per month. In fact, sometimes those apartments came all bills, inclusive. Now that's no longer the case. You want to get like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in a decent location. You're talking close to 2,000 Canadian dollars a month, more than double. And then Alberta is telling you they're still very affordable in terms of housing. Why won't people move? Okay, so for me, it adds up. So this is one of the reasons why, if you talk to a lot of people, they will tell you they've considered moving to Alberta because it's in terms of housing, it is affordable. Another reason why people say it's probably the cheapest or the most affordable is in terms of taxes. Now, when you're coming to Canada, you have to have the fact that you have to have taxes at the back of your mind. Okay, goods and services tax. So let me give you an example. Let's say you go to a dealership and you want to buy a car. Okay, let's say you want to buy a car online. You're in Canada, you want to buy a car online, and the price of that car that you see is 10,000 Canadian dollars. Now, by the time you put in all your details and you go to the checkout and you put in your address, if you live in Nova Scotia, our tax, harmonized goods and services tax, is 15%. So if you live in Nova Scotia, what you're going to pay at the end of the day for that $10,000 car is 11,500 Canadian dollars. So 1,500 more. If you live in Ontario and that same car, you put in an Ontario address, what you're going to pay is 11,300 because the harmonized tax in Ontario is 13%. Now, if you live in Alberta, for the same car, you're going to pay 10,500 Canadian dollars. So you're paying 1,000 less than Nova Scotia and the Atlantic provinces, and 800 less than Ontario, because your goods and service tax is only 5%. Now, when you think about it, it's adding up, isn't it? That's why people are moving there. So again, by the time I did all of this research, I wasn't surprised at all that people in other provinces are moving to Alberta. And a majority of the people that actually moved from BC and Ontario, which makes sense because BC and Ontario are the top 2 most expensive provinces in the whole of Canada. So people from BC, going to Alberta, cheaper housing, it makes sense. Another reason people will tell you Alberta is more affordable is you hear a lot of argument. You see a lot of argument online. People say, the salary you get in Alberta, they have better salaries, they're better incomes. People get paid more. It could be true. Some will say it's true. I have a few friends in Alberta. Some say, yes, the salaries are really good. Another one is saying not that good. Okay, so there comme ci comme ça. But it really does, it does depend on what you're looking for. But right now, Alberta can be considered that. I was talking to a friend in Alberta and I told her I was going to do this video. And she said, Habiba, please don't. And I said, why? She said, people are going to keep trooping. She said, Alberta is no more calling. And I said, why do you say that? She said, a lot of people have moved in. And guess what is happening now? She said the prices of housing is going up. And I just laughed because what is happening is simple economics. This is the same thing that happened to Nova Scotia. During and after the pandemic, there was a mass influx of people from other provinces into Nova Scotia, and this drove, the housing market crazy. So the price of housing went up. Apparently, this also happened in Ontario and BC some years ago. So this could be the case for Alberta. I hope not, but this could be the case. Now, I was talking to one of my subscribers and she was like, okay, Habiba, so Alberta sounds like a good place to go. How is the weather? I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, it is much colder than where I am. People think Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia, PEI is the coldest. No, it's not. The prairies, Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, are the coldest, apart from the territories. So while you're also thinking about moving there, put at the back of your mind that their winters are really, really cold. Okay. But I hear it's a lovely province. I've never been, but I hear it's really lovely. So I'm just providing this information so that you can make some informed choices before you actually decide which province you want to move to. I hope you found this video very helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and share the video. Until next time, keep watching Beaver's Canadian Journey. Take care.